I'm not going to lie. It sounds like even maybe a little bit smarter version of me. And I enjoy it. I think it's helped me elevate my game. I use ChatGPT so regularly, and now that the knowledge base and the memory is so expanded, it's able to output prompts, or if I tell it I'm drafting an email or I need help giving it some different inputs. Maybe I'm helping field a client inquiry here at One Firefly, or maybe there's a complicated situation. Then I'll give it multiple inputs, and then ultimately it'll help me craft either the outline of the response, and then I'll craft it myself, or it'll give me at least a first draft, and then I'll take that first draft and then go and refine it before I send it. But I find that using AI, I just feel like it's made me smarter, because the output is just so much more refined and inclusive of important, relevant details. So it sounds like me, but I'm not going to lie. It sounds like even maybe a little bit smarter version of me. And I enjoy it. I think it's helped me elevate my game.
Mike's got the hat, the AI kind. Unlocking power in business you'll find. Cut through the hype, explore the tech. Every week new ideas to check. All 10 leads us on a digital quest. AI secrets he'll always invest. Tune in tight, don't miss a beat. Knowledge groove, keep you on your feet. Listen up to the AI flow. Business growth, here we go. Cutting edge insights, that's the plan. With the AI hat, you'll understand.
Greetings, program. Welcome back to the AI Hat Podcast, where I selfishly use this time to pick the brains of experts at harnessing the power of AI across all areas of business, from streamlining operations and boosting productivity to gaining a competitive edge and driving explosive growth. Oh, and you get to learn too. Subscribe to be shown how to prepare yourself and your brand for this AI revolution and come out ahead. Listen, you tired of hearing about AI being the future while having no clue where to actually start today? Maybe you're feeling overwhelmed by all the AI tools, the platforms, and the promises that seem more like science fiction than practical business solutions. You're not alone. And frankly, most of the AI advice out there is either too technical, too expensive, or just plain too theoretical for real business owners trying to run profitable companies. And here's the problem. Everyone's talking about AI transformation, but nobody's showing you the actual playbook. You're being sold on massive enterprise solutions when what you really need is someone to say, here's exactly how I use ChatGPT 20 times a day to make better decisions, write better emails, and run my business more efficiently. You need real use cases from a real CEO who's actually implemented AI across every aspect of their leadership, not just the marketing department. Well, today, we're solving that problem once and for all. I'm bringing you Ron Callis Jr., CEO and co-founder of One Firefly, a marketing powerhouse that serves technology integrators across North America. Ron isn't just talking about AI. He's living it daily. This is the guy who's built custom GPTs for project management, uses AI for everything from podcast prep to employee reviews, and has systematically integrated AI into his leadership workflow without losing the human touch that built his business. Ron was recognized as a CE Pro Masters Class honoree for his industry contributions, has mentored robotics teams, and has been building and scaling businesses for over 2 decades. But what makes him perfect for today's conversation is that he's not selling you AI dreams. He's going to share the exact tools, prompts, and processes he uses every single day to build his team and grow his business. Hey, Ron, welcome to the show.
Mike, thank you so much. Happy to be here with you and your audience.
So excited to have you. Let's start with the basics. What does your daily AI workflow look like from the moment you wake up to when you go to bed? Walk us through like a typical day.
Well, as the CEO and founder here at One Firefly, I have an awesome executive team and leaders throughout the org, which help me run the business, which means I really get to live my day and my week and my month by design. I would say it starts out with, I'm not sure what I'm about to say is actually best practice, but it's honest. I get up and I am one of those people. The first thing I do is grab my phone and I give it a quick scan. I'll scan my social media accounts. Typically, I'll then scan my crypto portfolio and my other portfolios, and I'll check emails. And then pretty quickly, I'm out the door. I work out 6 days a week, so I'm usually out the door at by 7 a.m. running and then lifting. Usually have about 2 hours segmented daily for workouts, and then I'll come back in and get my day started around 9. And and you mentioned AI in the workflow. I am generally, in terms of my work day, I'm scheduled out most days. I'm scheduled out with internal company meetings. I provide a role within One Firefly for sales coaching and account management coaching. So I'll work with the different people in my organization on either joining their L10 meetings, their weekly meetings, and or individual coaching sessions with the players on those teams. I'm also heavily involved in product development. That's just an area that I enjoy, kind of tinkering and building our future with the leaders in my organization. And then I have other standing meetings, such as financial review and analysis meetings with my CFO. In terms of AI, though, I would say I'm interacting and utilizing my Chat GPT account all day, every day. So it's just really become a tool in my tool belt that I'm using, I would say, nearly every hour on the hour throughout my day. Often it is a tool that I'm leaning on much more heavily than maybe in the old days, where I would only exclusively go and do a search query or something in Google. I'm now relying on the brain trust, this extra brain that I've gained in the knowledge within ChatGPT, just to help me kind of in day-to-day tasks. I'm assuming we'll go through more of that. But that's at a super high level overview of what maybe a typical day or typical week looks like for me.
I love that you referred to it as a second brain because I think about it the same way. I happen to use Gemini. I was already on a paid account. In fact, our mutual friend, Chris Carr, and I were doing an AI boot camp in Philly, and he asked me to learn either Gemini or Copilot because he already knew ChatGPT and he wanted somebody else teaching, right, who could teach the students, the attendees about Gemini. And so I dove into that, and I'm in it all day long. Love that I can be on the phone or on the laptop and asking questions or doing search queries and so on. You had talked to me before about using ChatGPT for things like email, social media posts. Can you walk us through that? Maybe not the exact prompt, but what's the process that you use now to help
Sure.
to have AI help you with that, and how has that changed maybe your efficiency?
Sure. I'll describe it in a couple of different levels. First of all, I have an executive assistant, Allison. She's amazing. And I have her assisting me with a number of different tasks throughout every day. And one of those is she helps me manage my inbox. So if you send me an email, she's also in my inbox and she's able to help me curate and filter. And on occasion, depending on certain types of emails, she also will respond. And depending on the email, she'll respond as her or she'll respond as me. We'll say, well, how could she respond as me? She's not me. Well, she and I built an email GPT where within that GPT, we trained it on, I think somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 or 20 authentic emails that I've drafted myself without the assistance of AI over the last several years. So it's in my voice, it's in my tone. I have a particular style of communication. We then separately post-processed those emails to create a style document on my writing style. So now that becomes a separate document or source file for the GPT, in addition to the selection of examples. And I'm trying to think of what else is in that email GPT. Certainly a very clear set of instructions. One of the little tricks for writing instructions or writing prompts. I don't know if it's a trick or maybe just standard operating procedure. But we will always use or go into ChatGPT, usually the 4.0 model, and ask it for help writing a prompt or ask it for help writing the instructions for a GPT. Whenever we go and start slamming into our keyboard into AI, usually we can get there to accomplishing whatever the outcome is. But I've just found a dramatic shortcut. If you go in and say, help me draft a prompt that will accomplish A, B, and C, then I'll banter and I'll type a long-winded response, and then it gives this beautifully formulated output. So then we copy paste that into instructions into the GPT. Anyway, so that's an example of an email GPT that she uses when she's creating draft communication on my behalf. She did the same thing, a same version of that for social media posts as well. So, for example, if you see me on LinkedIn, a lot of times that is either me, so I'll keep you guessing, keep you on your toes, and or it's Allison acting as me, utilizing the social media GPT, which then again, everything full in our internal process, we operate at One Firefly inside of Slack. And what she'll do is she'll then send me the draft in Slack of the post that she's going to make. And then I'll go in and tinker with it if necessary. And then I'll just give her a green light. And then that's the post that'll go up there. So that's how I have an assistant operating at a higher level of efficiency and accuracy on my behalf, in this case, using ChatGPT and custom GPTs. And then for myself, I actually don't use my email GPT, just as odd as that might sound. She uses that on my behalf. But I will go in, I use ChatGPT so regularly. And now that the knowledge base and the memory is so expanded, it's able to output prompts, or if I tell it I'm drafting an email or I need help giving it some different inputs. Maybe I'm helping field a client inquiry here at One Firefly, or maybe there's a complicated situation. Then I'll give it multiple inputs, and then ultimately it'll help me craft either the outline of the response, and then I'll craft it myself, or it'll give me at least a first draft, and then I'll take that first draft and then go and refine it before I send it. But I find that using AI, I just feel like it's made me smarter, because the output is just so much more refined and inclusive of important, relevant details. So it sounds like me, but I'm not going to lie. It sounds like even maybe a little bit smarter version of me. And I enjoy it. I think it's helped me elevate my game. It's a very simple example. If I scan it and look at my GPT, there's just a plethora from personal to professional use cases and applications that I'm utilizing, ChatGPT every day. And I'll just add, in terms of Gemini, here at One Firefly, we're also a Google Workplace, which means we have a company-wide Gemini account. But I've just found my personal style or method is I'm all in on ChatGPT, and I listen to a lot of the educational videos on kind of the nuances and the horse race that are all of the models, whether it's Gemini or Meta or Claude or the others. And they're all really in a horse race. Depending on the week, one might be better at writing, one might be better at math, one might be better at critical thinking, but they're all amazing. And so I've just gone in on ChatGPT, and I'm a regular user of that. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with any of the other models. It just means I have limited capacity to go and explore other things. I do dabble and explore with some other AIs, but in terms of a primary day-to-day model, I've found OpenAI's solution pretty good.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Folks don't need to just run to a different model because of some new feature they release or some new version. Folks just wait a couple months. All the other models will have their own version of Deep Research or Canvas or whatever. If you haven't done a custom GPT or a gem for Gemini, I'll link to a resource in the show notes that'll walk you through how to actually build some of the things that Ron and I are talking about. And it was just funny because, Ron, you mentioned in the green room that you had actually seen one of my LinkedIn posts. I was talking about our mutual friend, Brooke Sellis, So I have proof that Ron does in fact personally use LinkedIn some of the time.
I'm
So
personally on LinkedIn at least 10 to 15 minutes a day, every day, 7 days a week.
yeah, yeah.
And so,
So
yes,
I
this
want to
was
go back
not
though.
Ron Bot
Yeah,
reading your LinkedIn. This was Ron reading your LinkedIn. And I saw that post because, yeah, I was commenting just before we started recording.
yeah. Well, I'm going to ask you about Ron Bot. Before I do, I want to go back and underscore something you said because I thought it was really, really important. You talked about how today we can actually ask the AI to help us create a great prompt. And this is something I've talked about a lot, that AI as a technology is different from everything else that we've ever used in our entire lives. You pick up a cell phone or a piece of actual hardware technology, or you open up an app like Canva or Photoshop, you can't have a conversation with it about
Right.
how to use it. But with AI, you can. I was writing an article over the weekend about how I use deep research. And if you're not familiar with deep research, you can have it do all kinds of autonomous research for you and deliver this incredible, powerful report. And if you're not sure what to ask it to do, you can start the conversation with ChatGPT or Gemini. Hey, this is what I want to learn about. Help me create a really great research prompt, and then copy and paste that into the deep research function. So that was a huge point. I'm so glad you mentioned that because it's something that I think people really need to be aware of as they're using these tools.
So I'll give you a little opportunity or maybe a nugget for folks that are managing others, whether you're leading the company or you're managing people, or maybe you just want to help your family or your friends.
Mm.
But here at One Firefly, I do one-on-ones. I have a cadence of weekly with my leadership team, monthly with my leaders that are below the leadership team, and then every quarter with everyone on the team. And in the interactions of the one-on-one, which are mostly non-work related, they're not usually task focused or project focused, but just kind of life focused. But I will ask anyone and everyone on my team, is probably nodding their head when I describe this. I'll say, can you just show me a recent use case and how you use ChatGPT or Gemini? Just show me a scenario where you used it recently. And I'll have them pull something up and then I'll take them through. Odds are 9 times out of 10, they started clicking away about some outcome they wanted or some help they wanted with something. And I said, just will you enlighten me? I want to show you something. And they're like, what is it? And I said, all right, so now go to your prompt and I want you to say, you could even take what you asked it above, but I said, I want you now to say, help me write a prompt to accomplish the following, and then put all of your notes there. And then look at that output. And that prompt that the AI generates is always many, many, many multiples better than anything that you probably chicken scratched into the keyboard. And it allows for when you run that. So, for example, just yesterday, talking about real life examples. So, our washing machine here in our house just died. We knew that it was going to be on its last leg for months. And then finally the door locked, couldn't open it, wouldn't turn on. It rang, it threw in the flag. It said, I'm done. And so my wife's like, we got to get a new washer. Well, we hadn't bought a new washer. I can't even remember the decade I bought a new washer. And so I didn't even hesitate. And what's interesting is I did not go to Google. I went immediately into ChatGPT, into O4, and I said, help me write a prompt for deep research that will look at all of the best washer dryer side by side combos. It does not need to be stackable. I want it to be white. Price is not an issue, but I want it to be considered a good value. Please look at all the available reviews. Tell me the top 5 considerations I should look at. And so that's my chicken scratch version of a prompt. And it just wrote this beautiful Shakespearean prompt of just significant detail and analysis. And then I just switched to the O3 model and I said, great. And then I went down to deep research. I clicked it on and I said, great, run that prompt in deep research and create it in a format that will be easy for me to understand your rankings and the why. And I ran it and then it output and literally my wife right after I forwarded it to my wife. She read it because I was in meetings. I didn't even have time to read the output. I just knew it was going to be good. She then took it and then she reported back to me 30 minutes later. She bought number 4 on the list. And Lowe's is delivering it today. So that's just an example of how it took me all of maybe 5 minutes to get that inquiry going. And in a couple of years ago, maybe I would have asked my assistant to go do that research, or my wife or I would have done that research maybe in the morning or in the evening. But now AI went and did the research and it handed us just a beautiful analysis. She went and fact checked some of the review schedules, some of the review feedback and some of the references seemed totally legit. And in fact, it found a nuance. So I mentioned that in my opening that I try to work out every day. Well, so does my wife and so does my son. So our house is always full of gym clothes. I had written that in my chicken scratch input into the AI that we are a household with lots of, sweaty gym clothes. It had processed that in the analysis, and this particular washer, it pointed out, was a front load washer that had a certain feature to keep air circulating in the machine even when it was done. And that helps prevent any odor or mildew from forming, particularly when you're washing gym workout
Gym
clothes.
clothes.
And I was like, oh my God, that's exactly the feature that we needed based on our lifestyle. And that was just one of on what feels like almost an infinite array of opportunities between personal life and business to be deploying these technologies to make our life a little bit better.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I just published an article about how I was using deep research to research opportunities for me to pivot into solopreneurs and creators, and a field that I personally identify with for 2 decades, but I hadn't really thought about talking to them and trying to help them. And in that case, I had used Gemini to help me craft a great prompt like you did with ChatGPT. And the output prompt was beautiful. It covered so much more nuance. The other thing that I often do is ask the AI to ask me questions. I give it
Yes.
that permission. Feel free to ask me any clarifying questions you want, and often it comes back with an entire questionnaire. But there are all these angles and things that I didn't necessarily think to cover, whether it's a research or just any kind of prompt. But you talked about your Ron bot, and I know you've
Mm.
created this for like sales and account management as well as other kinds of things. What was the problem that was solving, and how did you actually build it?
Sure. I've always what is so amazing about AI and our access to this technology that in just a few years ago was completely unattainable to most of us in society. It's now right here at our fingertips. So in the case of One Firefly, well, I'll just say me personally, I've been in the my particular industry, this custom electronics industry for the last 26 years for my whole career. Graduated out of Virginia Tech in 2000 with a degree in engineering, mechanical engineering to be specific. And I went and worked professionally and then launched this business in '07. And I have the experience, the personal experience of working with, at this point, thousands of small business owners. I've worked with them one-on-one. I've worked with them and through webinar education. I've stood on stage and keynote, delivered content and taught various courses around the subject matters of marketing, engineering, process, sales, and so forth. So I just have this, all this experience under my belt so that when I'm in an interaction with a customer myself, I'm generally able to navigate most situations and yield a positive outcome. That's for the client solving their problem. Maybe that's resulting in addressing a client's concern. Maybe that's helping make a sale. And I can do those things at this point fairly intuitively, just because I have so much life experience under my belt. A role that I play at One Firefly with my team now is pouring into them to help them address these same situations that if I was in solo addressing, I would do it. I would be on autopilot and it would be relatively easy. Well, if you're younger in your career, you haven't seen it all yet. You haven't made enough
Yeah.
mistakes, perhaps. And so that's value that I can bring them by either joining them for a call or analyzing their call and post through, we record all client meetings here at One Firefly and Fathom, which is just a great tool. And we will, and so I'll assist them and coach them. Sometimes I'll have the leader of that person and then the individual. Sometimes I'll talk the entire sales team. I'll talk to the entire account management team, all with the goal of moving and advancing their knowledge forward to help them grow, personally and professionally. The limitation is my time. My time is finite, and I enjoy that I'm generally pretty busy, pretty scheduled out, often many weeks in advance. And so the luxury of me being able to spend the time with that team member isn't always there. Although I try to prioritize it, sometimes life happens, particularly like during the heavy conference season, say in the spring or the fall. And so my EA and I were brainstorming, how could we invent a tool that would try to capture at least some of the knowledge and experience that I have and make that then readily available to every member of our team. And I was actually in my mastermind with Brooke and Rich and Andy Cristodino, and Brooke was showing us a sales bot that she had created, and I believe she's actually going to be commercializing. And that triggered the idea. I was like, well, why don't we take the recorded transcripts of my sales calls with clients, my account management calls with clients, usually with another participating member of our team, an account manager typically, and then internal sales trainings where it's one-on-one, me with a person or a group of people, and or me with our account manager or groups of account managers in training environments. All of these things I'm describing become inputs for the knowledge base. So we went and mined all of the transcripts for the last couple of years that we've been recording them to find good examples or demonstrations of where I'm providing value to the other party. We also then went through our library of webinars. We went through, I'll just say, lots of other bits of content. And where we are finding holes, then I'll record custom content that then gets transcribed and added to the knowledge base. And the goal from all of this, we're actually just in our final stages of then releasing that to the team. Our goal is to release that here in the coming weeks. And so that our sales team and or our account managers that normally would want to face-to-face with me now can at least chat with, we're jokingly internally calling it Ronbot, but they could interact with me through the GPT that has access to a knowledge base that I've trained. And the goal is to get working here and then, go totally nerdy and tie that to an avatar Ron and then train my voice in. So we're looking at HeyGen and 11 Labs. And part of this are those elements necessary? They're not necessary, but they're just cool. Yeah. And so part of our method here, part of my method is often I'll jump down the rabbit hole to learn it because I need to learn it so that I can then teach it and I can then help others. I can help my team, or if I'm in an environment with our industry or clients, I can help them. It's hard to teach and help people if you haven't actually done it yourself. And so those are the reasons that this Ronbot as a sales aid and account management coaching aid has been created. We've been at it now about 3 or 4 months, and we're just going to be rolling it out. I say my Allison, my assistant, and I, she's my right hand helping me get it all put together. She and I meet weekly on it. We're continuing to push it forward and enhance it. And it'll be in the hands of my team in the coming weeks.
Love that. I'm building a similar blogging brute bot because I've got hundreds of articles and videos and courses and ebooks all about content marketing, partly just to share that knowledge and partly, like you said, to just help myself understand how to do this so that I can do it with others. We had an entire episode with George Thomas that I'll link to below about he's done the same thing from a HubSpot perspective. He's the HubSpot helper. Folks, we're talking with Ron Callis about how he's using AI in virtually every aspect of running his business. I've got 7 more questions you aren't going to want to miss. But first, a quick word about how you can set up your own AI-powered executive assistant.
This episode of AI for Business Leaders, the AI Hat podcast, is brought to you by Magi. Tired of juggling multiple AI subscriptions and trying to figure out which tool to use and when? Magi simplifies AI for businesses by offering access to all the leading language models and image and video generators for one low price. With Magi, you can create custom instructions to personalize AI for every business need and use them across all LLMs, including ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and even DeepSeek. No more building custom GPTs or gems that are limited to just one platform. Magi also lets you create customized workspaces for your entire team, giving everyone in your organization access to the same AI assistants and tools and prompts. Ready to streamline your AI workflow and empower your team? Tap the link in the show notes to visit Magi today to learn more. And now, back to the rest of today's episode.
So, Ron, I love earlier when you talked about how even in your weekly and monthly one-on-ones, you're asking folks for examples of how they're using AI. And along those same lines, you launched an AI council in your company last year. What prompted that decision, and what's the impact been on your team's adoption and results as a result of having this council internally?
When AI kind of stormed the beaches in, I'll just say Q1 of 23, right? ChatGPT was released in, I think it was November of 22. And I started reading about ChatGPT. I think it was 3.0 at the time. And I was masterminding. I actually operate in a number of different masterminds with other agency owners, but I was in my mastermind with Andy, Rich, and Brooke. And we were all, I don't know, feeling the shock and awe of what was now going to be possible with these tools. And I say our minds were going to all of the wonderful opportunities, but maybe we were more leaning out of fear with, oh my God, do marketing agencies have a purpose going into the future? And what that led me to do was starting to consume just tremendous amounts of content, reading content, listening to podcasts, watching videos 7 days a week. For anyone that knows me knows I'm an avid podcast listener. I'm usually listening to 1 to 2 hours of podcasts a day. If not more. My happy place is give me some solitude and let me listen and learn to something. And so I was just consuming this knowledge at a mile a minute. And what was not happening yet was my team at One Firefly was not equally consuming knowledge a mile a minute. And at our agency, I'm the owner of the business. And so I let's just say I feel the weight of the world on my shoulders in terms of the responsibility to keep this business in a thriving, growing, profitable position between our team and a handful of contractors. We have 90 people on staff here at One Firefly. There's a lot of families, a lot of mouths to feed, a lot of roofs to put over people's heads. And so I felt that weight of trying to figure it out. Well, what happened initially was not necessarily positive, in that I was sharing articles, I was sharing videos, I was sharing examples that I was doing myself. And what I now know in hindsight is I was overwhelming many, if not most of the members of my team, because what was on their plate to accomplish was whatever workflow they were assigned or whatever, responsibilities they had, whatever KPIs they're being measured by, maybe their bonuses are being tied to. And so, although I was excited and I was feeling motivated, like, oh my God, we need to figure this out or else, it had an adverse effect on our team, and almost in some cases resulted in counter productivity. And so I had in the summer of 23 gone to MACON, which was Paul Rotzer's conference in Cleveland. And I learned for the first time of his concept of an AI council. So think of it as like a hit team of different players throughout your business, and that come together and kind of help navigate how to get AI brought into your company in a safe way that's mindful of your IP, mindful of your clients' sensitive information, but ultimately in a structured way. And I gathered the documents that MACON had made available. Paul Rotzer at the Marketing AI Institute had made available. And then ultimately we modeled our own and fashioned our own AI council, and we officially launched it in January of 2024. So it took us about 6 months of kind of post-processing. I want to say that conference was in July of 23. And over the fall, worked with my leadership team, and we then constructed a council. Since then, we've had a few players roll in and roll off of that council. And then in Q1 of this year, 2025, we brought in a manager of innovation and AI into the business. This was a brand new role created to help with product management, product development, and AI implementation throughout the company. And that person, her name's Jessica, she now sits and runs the AI council meetings. And I'm happy to go into more detail, but that's just kind of a little bit of the setup as to how it was formed. And we could maybe talk about what it does or what the outcomes have been.
No, I love it. I mean, first of all, Maycon's where you and I met, a terrific event. I think we're both headed back there this
I
fall.
want to
All
say
brains are-
I was invited to a dinner that you were sponsoring, and I was
Yep.
very great. I graciously accepted, and I was great to meet you.
Yeah, I was a little bummed because I was there on behalf of Agorapulse. I was running the booth for Agorapulse. I didn't get to go to any sessions while I was there, so I didn't hear Paul talk or Andy or anybody else. This fall is different. Not running a booth. I'm just attending, so I get to go and actually learn and soak up all that knowledge. Because like you, I am now a podcast fiend. I was not
Mm.
before AI rolled out, but now that AI is here, there's so much rich content, particularly in podcasts. Paul and Mike's podcast, the Artificial Intelligence Show, is a great example. They talk for over an hour every single week about what's new and latest and greatest in the industry. Are there any other shows that you recommend or podcasts that people should listen to?
Well, I watch. Oh, now that I totally have the fella's face. Oh, Matt Wolf. I love watching
Oh yeah,
Matt
sure.
Wolf's YouTube content. It's what's neat here in my house is, my son is 16 years old, and on many Saturday mornings, we'll put on Matt Wolf onto the YouTube on our TV in our living room, and he and I will sit there and nerd out and watch Matt Wolf. And then if you look at the YouTube feed, then that runs to this. I mean, just this last 2 Saturdays ago, he and I watched like 3 Matt Wolf videos. And then Ray Dalio came in and talked about macroeconomics. And then the CEO of NVIDIA was interviewed, and my son sat with me and we watched that interview for another hour. And he talked about the inception of kind of the history of the graphics card and the invention of CUDA, which allowed for applications such as machine learning to utilize the graphics processor, and thus the AI revolution that we know. AI has been in development for 50 to 60 years, but there's been a revolution in the last 10 years, and it was tied to the ability to use graphics cards processing. Anyway, I know all of that because I'm watching podcasts and, usually with myself, or I'll listen, but I have also been incorporating my son because I need him to realize the world that he's entering. He's a junior in high school. He's going to be going to college soon. It's going to be a brand new frontier of what society looks like. What do jobs look like? And how does he navigate that to find his way? It's not good, it's not bad, but I can tell you it's definitely different. It's different than the world that I entered into. I joke, when I started my first job in 2000, I was issued a pager. Okay, so that's something era I'm at. It's like client pages you, pull over at a payphone and call. And I know I don't look that old, but I'm there. And here my son is in an era where, I mean, right now, literally last night, he's just over the last couple of days, he's discovered Replit and Cursor and vibe coding. And now he's watching all of these educators and solopreneurs and entrepreneurs talk about how anyone can start an internet business. And he was asking me, Dad, do you think Stripe has an API connection into the output code from Replit? I'm like, I'm pretty sure they do, son. I have no idea how to do that, but I'm pretty sure it's true. And it's exciting where the world's going. It's mildly terrifying because it's happening at
Mhm.
accelerated rate, particularly for any of us that are business owners with so much on the line. But, I choose to turn that fear into energizing positivity and decide if someone's going to figure this out, why not me and why not us? And that's how we go about our day and our week.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, you talk about what we were doing a couple decades ago. I was selling NVIDIA graphics cards. I used to be in IT sales. Could not have
Wow.
even remotely envisioned what these tiny little graphics cards plugged into an Intel processor could do. 2 decades later, it's pretty
I
crazy.
was buying NVIDIA graphics cards, GeForce cards for my tower computers because I was playing World of Warcraft and
Yep.
StarCraft, and I wanted the fastest graphics. And then of course, the NVIDIA blew up in 17, or really maybe 16 or 17, with their application towards mining Ethereum and cryptocurrency. And that was the surge. And then, they went to proof of stake from proof of work. So that killed the Ethereum application. And then, oh my God, it's the new gold rush with the application of NVIDIA processors leading the way for AI processing.
Yeah, we were
Amazing.
using GeForce chips to demo Counter-Strike in our
There
in
you
our
go.
shop.
There you go. That
But
was all the rage.
Ron, if a business owner or solopreneur, they're listening right now, they want to start implementing AI like you have. What do you think the first 3 things they should do Monday morning would be?
I believe in leadership from the top, right? So, and again, whether it's for yourself or it's for an enterprise. I mean, my personal experience is around the motivation to get my company adopting and utilizing and benefiting from these technologies more than personal initiative. And I'm just, that's my truth. That's been my experience. And that's been highly motivating to me to figure this out. As an engineer through education, I'd like to think I went to school on problem solving. And so the problem that I was handed was, how do we take this technology that's likely to change everything, and at the fastest rate things have ever changed, and how do you get a company to adopt it in a way that has them producing better quality results for our clients, so that the value proposition for us as a service provider stays in high esteem, i.e., our clients still see their need to have One Firefly in their life as a partner in their business. And that motivates me. It motivates me every day when I get up, and it has me motivated every night as I put my head on my pillow. So you need to take the initiative as the leader or manager of yourself or your team to go, and the first step is learn. Listen, be a student, be accept that you'll be nicely humbled, accept that you'll be likely very uncomfortable for much of the entirety of the experience, and just be a student again, and watch the videos, listen. Early on, we hired a consultant, Isar. He has a great podcast. I can shout out that podcast, but he's based in Orlando. We hired him directly. He was able to provide me some personal counsel and us some personal counsel. We actually met him at MACON back in the summer of 23. There are many now AI consultants out there. Mike, I believe you also provide counsel and services. You could provide clarity on that. And it's just, so don't be afraid to go out and ask others that have figured some of this out, and solicit their assistance. It's worth their money. It's worth the money that you'll spend times 10 or times 100. Because when you realize utilizing these technologies, what they're going to add, not only to the quality of your work product, but then the ability that they are a force multiplier. So you're going to be able to get far more done in the same amount of time. And the work product that's produced is likely at a much higher level in quality than it would have been if you, quote, did it the old school way of do it yourself. I'll give you a reference, to building a house. Would you want the builder that was using a screwdriver and screws, because that's how they had always done it and the people that taught them had done it? Or maybe they used a hammer and nails. Or would you want to use the builder that has this newfangled thing called the power drill? And the fact that now they can zip screws in at lightning speed, and those screws are likely stronger than the person using nails and a hammer. And is one good or one bad? No, it's just life has advanced. Technology has advanced. And that's the age we're in. We're in an exponential age of technology revolution. And so it's just a matter of accepting that and then learning everything you can about that, going to courses, paying for courses, going to conferences. And that's step one. Step two is start playing and utilizing it, finding a reason to use it every day. Maybe you're not using it every hour. No problem. Find a reason to use it at least once a day. Like, make yourself challenged to give yourself that application. And my opinion is become an expert in a platform. So become an expert in Claude, become an expert in Gemini, become an expert in ChatGPT. And then once you're an expert in just how to conduct basic chats, then you want to move to, the next stage of agentic progression, which is you want to start using the tools like the custom GPTs or the Gemini gems. I actually don't know what it's called in Claude. So Mike, maybe you'll be able to jump in and help me with what that's called. But you want to learn how to now create tools for yourself that allow you to ultimately accomplish an outcome. And I can give lots of examples where we've done that. I know I've mentioned a few. And then once you're using the tools regularly, challenge yourself to produce higher quality outputs because of the machine learning and the knowledge processing and analysis capabilities of these software, right? You now can upload data, you can upload large knowledge files, and you can ultimately get often better insights in a far shorter period of time than you would otherwise. And you can do that to the benefit of your customer so that what you're delivering that customer is of a higher quality. And if it's of a higher quality, then you have an opportunity to be valuable to them. And that means they will pay you for your services. They will pay to keep you in their life if you're regularly learning about their pain points, thoroughly discovering and understanding those pain points, and then ultimately able to provide relief or value to them in answers or solutions or counsel around how you can improve their quality of life. And AI tools en masse simply are a force multiplier for all of us.
Could not agree more. For Claude, it's projects. Michael Stelzner, host of the AI Explored podcast, has talked a lot about how he uses projects really well within his team. There's differences between projects, gems, and custom GPTs, but they're all very, very similar. And you're right. The research has shown that solopreneurs in particular, if they invest a little bit in AI training, they're likely to see a 10x return on that investment. So I'm so glad you brought that up. Ron, you've been absolutely amazing. This has been such a delight to talk to you. For folks who want to connect or maybe learn more about what you do, where should they go?
Certainly, if they want to learn about One Firefly, you can go to our website, onefirefly.com. You can find me personally on LinkedIn. Just look for Ron Callis. And you can also find me on, I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I'm not on Facebook. My Facebook account got hacked back in June of 2021. And out of spite, I just haven't gone back on there. But I know that's a bit sacrilegious, particularly if you have a marketing audience. And we, One Firefly, provide Facebook management services to many hundreds of businesses. But I haven't found the heart to go back on there. But yeah, those are a few ways.
Fantastic. We'll have all those links and more in the show notes as always. But that's all the time we've got for today, friends. Remember, if this is your first foray into the world of AI and business, I've got the perfect resource for you in the show notes below, the AI Primer, designed to quickly get you up to speed on all the terms, the tactics, and the underlying technology that's powering this AI revolution. Check it out, and I'll see you in our next episode. Welcome to The Grid.
That's a wrap on another episode of the AI Hat Podcast. I hope you gained some valuable insights and actionable strategies to boost your business with AI. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your network. And don't forget to visit theaihat.com for more resources and to connect with me. Until next time, keep innovating, and remember, the future of business is human and it's powered by AI.